time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
So the story I'm about to tell you guys should not be a shock. Back in the early days in the war against terror after 9/11, Central Intelligence Agency and other intel agencies discovered that Al-Qaeda operatives were communicating with each other on teenage message boards on the internet. So the CIA, in its wisdom, decided they would create, and this is later, around 2010, 2012, a Star Wars webpage for fans where they could communicate with intel assets in Russia, probably in Russia, probably Iran, and definitely Iran, and definitely in China. The problem that this caused was eventually the Iranian intel agencies figured out what was going on at the Star Wars web.net site and found out who the assets were and dispatched them. And so did the Chinese. Obviously, they were sharing information. And it's a good idea on paper. But is it really a good idea in practice? I'm not sure. I believe that gathering intel on the internet and using the internet to communicate with assets is not a bad idea, but it has its time and place. And the fact of the matter is that the CIA, to me, it looks like, because the CIA is extremely incompetent. I dated an analyst, a friend of mine dated a weapons instructor from the farm, and the guy could have played Mitch Rapp, by the way. I'm not kidding, for those people who are Vince Flynn fans. Those guys are worthy of their jobs, but the CIA is an inverted pyramid, and too many stuffed suits sit and stare at computers all day. They're not out in the field. And I think the best intelligence you can get is what they call human, which is human intelligence. Now, what this is about, and why I'm talking about it, is that the discussion about Star Wars web.net opened up the conspiracy theories that intelligence agencies are involved in pop culture. I am going to play the devil's advocate because we all know way too many people who were part of Star Wars and Lucasfilm who were definitely never going to be assets for any intelligence agency. Even, the Mossad wouldn't hire them, and the CIA isn't incompetent enough to hire people like Rian Johnson, right? When you look at the Star Wars sequel trilogy, the sequel trilogy is not an intelligence operation. What it is, it's a result of decades of destruction of Western culture, of the white male hero. We saw Rian Johnson completely emasculate Luke Skywalker against Mark Hamill's advice. We saw the Force Awakens, Han Solo completely emasculated for a reason. Andrew Breitbart, in the book that he wrote before he died, talked about how the Frankfurt School of Thought would go in to deconstruct the Western culture, the white male hero, and feminism and feminine qualities. And what happened is Lucasfilm has gotten inundated, and at least in publishing and some of the animation, with these radical left-wing ideologues that spout Frankfurt School bullshit. Pablo Hidalgo himself said, I think in a 2014 podcast, that they were going to indoctrinate the kids. And, it wasn't for public knowledge. One of the podcasters was shocked and made sure everybody on the planet knew that he had said that. And all of the actions of people like Pablo, his wife, and others at Lucasfilm, including Kathleen Kennedy, point to some sort of Frankfurt School philosophy floating around after George sold the studio. So, do I think the Disney sequel trilogy is a monolithic Intel operation? No, I don't. But let's talk further. It could be one of these things.
In keeping with the trusty adage, starve a cold, disgust a fever.
It's not difficult. Excuse me, Niles, but I've got news for you. Copernicus called, and you are not the center of the universe.
All right. Dad, when are you going to stop blighting the environment with this atrocity? My God, can't you see that it wants to die? Let it go.
What an odd combination of odors. Smells like a fish died and all the other fish sent flowers.
Pardon me. I have to go poke out my mind's eye.
No, I'm saying she's a dodo. Now, you may love a dodo. You may think the dodo is beautiful. You may even wish to marry the dodo. But you do not encourage a dodo to fly.
Argle, gargle, google, goo.
What?
Now you know how it feels. What are you talking about?
So, do I believe that there's an intelligence agency conspiracy running around making sure that woke shit shows up in Star Wars and Marvel? And I'm going to be very honest and say, maybe, but there has been no proof of it, but for one thing, and I'll get to that in a minute. The CIA itself is probably one of the most incompetent agencies the United States has. As I said before, it's an inverted pyramid, where the people that actually go out and collect intelligence are vastly outnumbered by bureaucrats who think they're analysts. Have they staged coups in places like Chile and Venezuela, you name it? I believe they did, but that was back when grown-ups ran the agency. Now grown-ups don't run the agency. So when I look at The Force Awakens and its devaluing and destruction of white male heroism, the deconstruction of it, I don't see any intelligence agency buffoonery going on. What I do see are people that went to colleges and were indoctrinated with the ideas of the Frankfurt School, okay? And it's very obvious in The Last Jedi. You have no mention of Han Solo, who was emasculated completely in the previous movie. And Luke Skywalker is then dragged through the mud, right? All the white men failed. The only person who didn't fail is Leia, and she is a failure too. So what it does is it destroys the traditional family. And of course, then we have the rise of Palpatine. In the end, it's not a Skywalker who triumphs, it's a Palpatine. A female version of Kathleen Kennedy. The Force is female. Which is Frankfurt School bullshit. as I said before, if you want to learn more about it, look up what Andrew Breitbart said. And of course, we got Soylo, a soy war story. The first thing they do is they hire an actor who couldn't carry Han Solo's blaster, right? He's not a good actor to begin with. He has no masculine charm. Let's go, and that's the least of it, all right? Then we'll go to the Acolyte. This is where it looks like there could have been an intelligence agency involved. The reason why is because the guy, and I'm going to say guy, that MI6 hired to be the front man for the lockdowns and the clot shot was actually supposed to be rumored to be in the Acolyte, and he wasn't. Okay, but there's that. And of course, we've got Andor and, the lesbian love affair and the lack of real white male heroes and just the lack of glorious Western cultural heroism, the Greco-Roman mythology, the Viking mythology. What we get is some stuff that's way too on the nose. The dikes, the allegory to the French in resistance in World War II. This is Val the lesbian. I had Grok make up Val if Val was a man. Who are you going to look up to? Are you going to look up get bitched at by Karen from accounting, or do you want this guy to be leading you? I'd pick up the Viking here. Okay, but let's talk about what is really going on. The world is inundated with very wealthy men who have nothing more to do than cause trouble. George Soros, I don't think, has an ideological bone in his body. He likes to destroy culture because he can. He has said that in 60 Minutes interviews. All right? I do this because I can. Elon Musk has said that that's who George Soros is. It's been said and proven by the Department of Government Efficiency that George Soros's Open Society organization and other organizations that he runs got $230 million over the years from the United States government. He didn't spend a dime of his own. Talk about the art of the deal, okay? This guy, like I said, was tooting his own horn about being part of the Holocaust and taking things away from Jews. Bad dude. And now we've got right here Bill Gates. Bill Gates is another, I think, supervillain from DC or Marvel, or dare I say Star Wars. This guy complains about having too many people in the world, wants to kill off half the human race, if not more, has labs in South America developing super weaponized mosquitoes that carry malaria and other things that are capable of slaughtering thousands of people with illness. And he is not getting called out for it. All right, he's also on the Epstein list, but then we have Klaus Schwab. Klaus Schwab and his satanic cult leader outfit. Klaus Schwab is the son of a man who ran a model German company in the 1930s. Who was running Germany in the 1930s? Any guesses? Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. When the war started, Daddy went to Switzerland. And after the war ended, Klaus did not suffer after the war ending because Daddy made sure Klaus and Mommy were well taken care of. Where'd the money come from? Not from Daddy's money-making abilities. I believe that he has been a product of stolen money from the Jews of Europe that were slaughtered during the Holocaust. That's what I think. World Economic Forum, you know, the people that ran Germany during World War II that survived, that were Nazis, just didn't give up the ship. They went underground. This is what you get. When you've got the daughter of Hermann Goering, Etta Goering, dying a devout Hitlerite, why would anybody be shocked that somebody else that was raised by a Nazi would be a devout Hitlerite? And I'm looking at Klaus Schwab, right? The World Economic Forum, in my opinion, is the outlet for people like him to try to take control. One world government. I mean, Hitler wanted that. Then they've already got Europe under the European Union, and the European Union loves to tell people how to live, and they hate individual voices. They censor people. They try to destroy the cultural fabric of each country, right? And they honestly, they're trying to replace the European population with people from the Middle East, and it's not going to work because those people can't be controlled either. All right, this is a major problem for Europe, right? And the people on the top, as far as I can see, and this is my conspiracy, are the progeny of the Nazis that disappeared into the woodwork wherever they ended up after the war was over. All right, they are what was left. And if you look at the way they govern, it's not really that different, you know. So do I think that these guys are Frankfurt School? Well, if you look at George Soros's attacks on the culture of the United States, yeah, they are. They are. He paid white students who are indoctrinated with hate at universities, and they're all white. They're not, white trust fund babies, to run around burning buildings, looting, etc. during the riots in 2020 over the death, the obvious now fentanyl death of a guy named George Floyd, who was a massive felon. And it's really interesting to me looking at all this and seeing what it is. You know, Bill Gates, Google, his company, and of course, Seattle, which, you know, if Mount St. Helens or Rainier decided to go up, take Seattle, please. You know, that's the hotbed of woke shit, right? I mean, these people basically chased a Christian group out of a park and beat people up because how dare they worship Jesus Christ in public, all right? That's wokeism. And of course, you got Klaus Schwab, who tells people that you will eat the bugs, and you will like them. Where do you think these people, who wanted this much control over people? The Nazis. So I hear a lot of people complaining about communists. I don't think Nazism disappeared. I just think it morphed into something else and a little more dangerous. Because you've got a guy who used taxpayer money to fuck with the United States. And there's a reason why George Soros is not allowed in England, because he basically shorted the pound so badly, they want to arrest him. You've got another guy, Bill Gates, who wants to kill off 3/4 of the population or half the population or whatever because there are too many people, even though he's wrong. There's not enough people. And you've got Klaus Schwab, who's obviously part of some sort of cult. And is it a satanic cult? Well, the SS was a very cult-like thing. And I'll let you think about that. Marinate in what the picture of Klaus Schwab really means. Anyway, do I think that the intelligence agencies are involved in the cultures? Well, we have examples from years ago when the CIA was a little more competent than it is now, of them actually being part of something like that. But it's also an inverted pyramid, right? Do they spy on the American people? They have, which is breaking their constitutional charter. Does the Mossad do things like that? I got to think about that. Do they really have time? I mean, if they were doing anything like that, they would be fucking with Iran all 6 ways of sun. I mean, I'm going to be the devil's advocate and say no. What I see is a conspiracy of the Frankfurt School, of kids being indoctrinated, of people like Pedro Pascal, who was not a poor refugee. I looked at his bio. He was a member of the intelligentsia, the elite in Chile. And, you know, my philosophy is you don't get homosexuality and trans bullshit from places that people are starving, right? And he's got a brother who thinks he's a girl. And we're all supposed to bow down, which, well, fuck you, Pedro. You've got that going on. So, no, these are indoctrinated people who came here to try to undermine Western culture. And they all found each other. And that's exactly what their professors, people like George Soros, people like Bill Gates, and people like Klaus Schwab want. Okay? And that trickles down to what people like Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama want. Okay? So I don't believe these franchises are being manipulated by an intelligence agency. I believe they've been manipulated by this curse of indoctrination through Frankfurt School bullshit, and it's called wokeism. This is Steph signing out. See you around the galaxy.